Hi guys, welcome or welcome back to Randomly Random. I am Bwame, your internet bestie. Today, we are watching and reacting to a movie titled Pet Sematary. The plot: a kid is resurrected from the dead by his dad, but then he starts to attack people. Get your snacks ready and let's get into it.
Welcome back to Movie Shortens. Follow us today to a movie titled Pet Sematary. Be aware, there are spoilers. The Creeds are on their way from Chicago to Maine to relocate the family. They are Dr. Lewis, Rachel, two children, Ellie, Gage, and their cat Church. Ellie is delighted and begins playing with the swing in the yard as the parents inspect the property, which they just adore. Just then the rope snaps and Ellie falls. At the same time, Lewis and Rachel take care of Ellie. A red truck speeds by, and the infant waves hello. Luckily, Gage is saved by a kind older man named John.
I'm sorry. You just moved to a new house and all these things are happening within minutes of each other in one day. Please, that is a sign for you not to stay there. Nothing screams more than leave than what is happening right now. Your child falls off a swing and your baby is almost hit by a fire truck. Just leave. Like, nobody else needs to tell you to leave. It's like the forces of the world, of the universe are telling you to just leave. What? And it's funny because I don't know how buying homes used to be back then, because this really looks like a movie that was filmed in the 90s or so. But how do you come to a home? How do you move your whole family to a new home, and on the day you are moving in, you are now inspecting the property? Are you not supposed to inspect the property before you even buy the property? Except I didn't understand what the narrator said about them inspecting the property. Let's continue.
Who warns the family that these trucks can hit quicker than they can scream. While getting to know each other, Rachel asks Judd where the path leads to in front of their house. Judd replies he'll take the family to visit once they all settle in. While Lewis wanders around the new house at night, he questions the mysterious path. Judd calls him over for a beer. The two talk about how awful the road is and reveal the walkway leading to the pet cemetery. Mostly dogs and cats that get hit on the road will end up being buried there. The following morning, Judd keeps the promise to take the Creeds to the path where they visit the pet cemetery. Rachel thinks it is unfortunate seeing children upset about their dead pets. Judd explains that the road is horrible, making the children broken-hearted when they lose their pet friends. Anyway, they sometimes have to learn about death, so the pet cemetery's idea is actually humane. That night, Ellie asks her father what if her pet Church dies. Lewis tries to console her by telling her that the cat still has a long life ahead of it. The next day, Lewis arrives at work for the first day at the University of Maine. An injured youngster who others are claiming was hit by a truck. They hurry him into the emergency room covered in blood and summon Dr. Lewis. As Lewis sits next to him,
This movie is quite gruesome already. I mean, your first day at work, and this is like your first case. Whew. I feel like something in the town is telling them to leave, okay? And they're still there. So let's see what happens.
The youngster appears to be dead. Suddenly, the boy opens his eyes and aggressively clutches Dr. Creed, peering into his eyes and whispering his name, saying that he'll come for Lewis. The doctor becomes astonished as the patient figured out his name. That night, as Lewis is sleeping, he is startled awake by the young man from earlier in the day, who appears in the bedroom doorway, still bloody from head to toe. The two start strolling down the pet cemetery route together, with the boy leading the way. He says this is where the dead speaks, but don't go any further, because this is where the dead walk. Dr. Lewis claims that he wants to wake up before laying down on the ground. Just then, Lewis opens his eyes in bed, but as he pulls back the covers, he notices that his feet are covered in mud, and that grass has clung to his feet. It's Thanksgiving Day, and Rachel will be spending the day with her father's.
having all these strange occurrences, just like your second day living in a new town. You're already seeing ghosts and stuff in your dream, which has never happened to you before. You have a dream that you are talking to a dead person at a graveyard and you wake up with mud on you, thinking that maybe you slept walk and you are still in this town. I don't blame these people. You see, they are not Africans, because if they were an African like me, they wouldn't have been told twice, okay? Two abnormal things don't have to happen at the same time before you tell me to leave, okay? Because I am gone.
Family, who, we learn, dislike Lewis so that he will be home alone. Lewis gets a call from his neighbor Judd, who says that there's a dead cat on the edge of his lawn. Lewis discovers that it is church as he makes his way across the busy street. Now he is concerned that Ellie will suffer as church is her best pet. Lewis says he'll bury him the following day and that he might lie to Ellie, saying he hasn't seen the cat. Judd says that there is a better way and guides Lewis into Pet Cemetery, armed with a shovel. According to Judd, Lewis must follow Judd's footsteps since he knows the route over a massive wooden barricade. The two reach a burial place after a long walk. Judd remarks on the shallow dirt and hands the shovel to Lewis, telling him he must do it alone. Lewis finishes excavating and finally places the cat in the hole just after dark. Returning home, Judd tells Lewis not to tell anyone about what they did tonight.
Why?
The following morning, Lewis finds Church is not dead and has come back. While examining the returned dead cat, Church scratches Lewis in the face. Lewis mentions the cat with Judd just a bit later. Judd also describes how he learned about the burial area from...
I'm sorry, your gentle cat, your cat that used to be so gentle and nice is hit by a car. You bury the cat, and the next day, you bury the cat at some strange place that some old man, who happens to be your neighbor, directed you to. And then the cat just so happens to be alive the next day. And this cat that used to be so gentle and loving and kind scratches you. And you don't think anything of it. This dead cat that was risen to life. Okay. So the cat just happened to resurrect. And you don't find it strange that before this cat resurrected, this old man that led you to that strange graveyard told you not to tell anybody what had happened that night. Why shouldn't you tell anybody that your cat died and you buried your cat? You don't find it strange? Okay.
Indian after losing his pet dog in 1925. His dog also reappeared after he buried him, but he was a different dog. Judd claims that he has decided to revive Church primarily for Ellie because she is too little to understand. Lewis inquires about persons being buried in the cemetery, to which Judd responds that no one would ever do so. During this time, Church continues to act strange and dark.
What happened to when parents just used to go buy the same cat, a cat that looked similar to the cat that died, so that their kid wouldn't be that sad? What happened to going to the pet store when your pet dies and trying to find the same looking cat or the same looking pet and replace it with the one that died for your child? What happened to that? Or what happened to just telling your child that, okay, your cat is dead, so that your child become used to death in life, because death is a cycle of life. Hello? I mean, this was a good way to even teach your child a lesson about death and losing loved ones and losing pets you love or people you love. Look at this cat. Look at this cat's green eyes. I don't know if a light is shining through the cat's eyes. Or really, you want to live with this cat? You think it's wise that you want to live with this cat that has clearly turned evil? That is clearly not your cat. It's clearly not your cat. It's clearly possessed by something. This is the cat you've chosen to live with. Okay.
Making Lewis worried and scared. When the family returns home, Ellie inquires about Church. She tells Lewis that she had a dream about Church being dead and that Dad and Judd buried him. Lewis comforts Ellie, saying church is totally fine. At night, Lewis and Rachel start talking about Rachel's sister, who suffered from a severe illness years ago. Rachel was forced to feed the sister by herself alone when she was only 8 years old. The family wanted the sister to die because she had begun to resemble a monster and was never satisfied with Rachel's care. Finally, she died, which relieved the family, including Rachel. Lewis tried to console Rachel, telling her that it was her parents' fault, and Rachel was too young at the time. Sometime later, Gage enjoys the picnic time with Judd and his family. He chases a kite as it continues to move forward until it reaches the roadway. Meanwhile, a massive red truck rushing down a hill as Gage approaches the road. The entire family chases after him, but in the center of the road, Gage is run over. The entire family is grief-stricken. When Lewis starts drinking and conversing with Judd, the topic of the burial ground comes up. People have been buried there, according to Judd.
Oh my goodness. Wow. That really looked gruesome. Whew. Okay. Wow.
Timmy Bateman was a young man and died near the conclusion of World War II. Timmy's father Bill placed his son's corpse into the Micmac burial ground, only to have it reanimated. However, when Timmy returned after 4 or 5 days, his mother declared him an abomination who needed to be dealt with. So Judd and other men went to the house and set fire while Timmy was still inside. Judd resents himself for introducing Lewis to the sour grounds, admitting sometimes it's preferable to be dead. The person being put up there isn't the same anymore. Whatever exists outside of Pet Sematary isn't human. However, Lewis seems firm with his intention.
So he knew all this, but he still sent
After the
Lewis
funeral,
there.
Rachel's family takes Ellie and Rachel to Chicago to make them feel better, leaving Lewis alone yet again. Later, Lewis arrives in the cemetery with a tool bag sitting next to Gage's grave, where he encounters the bloody Pascal, who cries and tells him not to contemplate his dark deeds. Elsewhere in Chicago, Pascal continues to haunt Ellie and Rachel in their dreams, attempting to stop Lewis. However, Lewis begins digging Gage's grave late that night. Rachel runs home from Chicago accompanied by Pascal, attempting to warn her about what Lewis is planning. At the same time, Lewis begins his journey up to the burial ground.
Why does the ghost keep following him? I don't get
Lewis arrives at the cemetery late at night, just as Rachel is speeding home in a rented car, though she crashes into some trees on a dark road.
If this is not a bad sign,
As
I don't
Lewis
know what
finishes
else is.
burying Gage, he returns home exhausted. Gage's new burial spot begins to move, and a small hand is seen lifting rocks from atop his tomb. During the night, the door is shoved open, revealing Gage's tiny legs. Gage is grunting and cooing around the house. He comes across his father's medicine kit and opens it to reveal a gleaming silver scalpel. Judd wakes up on his porch, noticing something is going on at Lewis's house. He hurries over to investigate. He can hear Gage laughing as he enters the house, so he looks around and finds the boy.
This man is
Gage's
about to
hand
die.
appears from under a table clutching the scalpel, pierces through Judd's Achilles heel and straight through his lips.
Are we
The
surprised?
evil boy takes a big bite out of Judd's neck as Church looks on. When Rachel returns from her journey, she notices Church outdoors, licking his injured paw. She shouts out for Judd as she walks into the house, but she hears a voice calling her name. Her sister's ghost greets her as she enters an upstairs room. She then takes Rachel to Judd's house, where she finds Gage in an upstairs bedroom. Gage says he brought her something and shows her Lewis's scalpel.
Is he a girl?
Rachel hugs her
Why is
son
he
in
dressed like
disbelief, and her fate is unsure.
Oh my goodness.
Lewis wakes up the following
I
day
hope
and
he didn't kill
stumbles
his-
out of bed. He
Technically,
sees
that's not
numerous
his mom.
small muddy footprints leaving the room and the absence of his scalpel. Preparing shots of morphine, Lewis heads to Judd's house, running into Church once more. He distracts the cat with a raw steak, then kills him with a shot of morphine. As Gage laughs in the background, he uncovers Judd's body. He makes his way down the hall, where Rachel's corpse emerges from the attic with a rope around her neck.
No.
Gage then jumps down on top of Lewis and cuts him a few times using the scalpel on the face and on the body. At this point, Lewis injects the boy with a morphine shot.
I'm confused. Whose parents approved for their child to act this role? Because this is clearly a real, like, little boy that was casted for this role. I wonder who he is now or where he is. Okay.
Making him ultimately slip down and die in the corridor. Then Lewis pours gasoline all over the house and sets it on fire. Lewis flees the scene with Rachel's body in his arms, bringing her to the burial site where he buried Church. After he buries Rachel, he returns home and waits for his wife to come back. Just then, Rachel does return, and they start kissing each other passionately. Meanwhile, Rachel lunges for a kitchen knife on the table, followed by a scream from Lewis. Like and subscribe to watch more videos like this, and don't forget to turn on your notifications. That really helps my channel.
Is Lewis stupid? After everything that happened with your cat and your son, you took your wife's corpse and buried her. Like, what did you expect? A better outcome? Like, what? That your wife won't kill you? Like, huh? What did I just watch? He took his wife's corpse and went to the same graveyard where he had buried Chad and his son, Jude and his son, and waited for her to be resurrected. Like, what? Everything the old man told him, everything he saw that happened with his cat and his son, like, is it that he forgot? What is happening? Okay. In the end, what happened to him, he deserved it, because how stupid can you be to just keep repeating that cycle? You buried your cat and it came back evil. You buried your son, he came back evil and killed your wife, your neighbor. And then you thought that going to bury your wife would what? Make a difference? Whew. Guys, this is a typical example of let things just be. Let things just rest, okay? I blame the old man for introducing the pet cemetery to them. I know they were curious about the path or whatever, but I blame him because he made Lewis go bury the cat. They could have just buried the cat at their backyard. Or he could have just buried the cat or burnt the cat, however a cat is, buried, and gone to a pet store and bought a similar cat. Or tried to find one, because his wife and daughter were away. He had time. Plus, it's funny because his daughter had a dream that the cat even died. So it could have been like, this could have even been a good lesson for her. Did I enjoy the movie? Yes, I did. I would give it like a 7 out of 10. I enjoyed it. Will I go look for the full movie? Probably not. Guys, let me know your thoughts about this movie. Did you enjoy it? If perhaps you've watched it before, like in real life, you've watched the full movie, and perhaps this recap missed out on some details you think, are vital for us to appreciate the movie even more, share in the comments. Give us a paragraph. We'd love to read. If you enjoyed this watch party and this movie, please do like this video and don't forget to subscribe. Bye, guys.